So to create a variable in Swift, you use the var keyword, and when you type in a keyword correctly, the editor will highlight it in purple and magenta to let you know that you've typed in the keyword correctly. And then you give your variable a name, and the name can be anything you want. And finally, you give it a data type, and the data type defines what type of data that variable can hold. And now, in this case, we've declared our variable to hold an integer. And now if you want to run your code, I'm using Swift Playgrounds. The Run button is in the left margin. If you're using jdoodle.com, you would have to click on the Execute button. And when you run your code, you see that it works perfectly fine. We've created a variable, given it a name, we've given it a data type, that means it can only hold integers, we've given it an integer, and then we've actually used that variable. Now what happens if you give your variable data that it cannot hold and you try and run it? You will get an error message. And this is Swift's way of making sure you do not mix data types. Because if you mix data types, then your program will not run, and you don't want your program to crash. So you have to use the proper data types. And when you name a variable, it's customary to give the variable a descriptive name. So that way it makes sense what that variable is holding. And if you want, you can do what's called camel case, where each additional word you add on to your variable name, you uppercase that letter, and that makes it a little bit easier to read. So in this quick lesson, the main idea is you use the var keyword to create a variable, you give your variable a name, and make it a descriptive name, and generally you use lowercase, and if you add additional words to make it more descriptive, you uppercase each of those additional letters, and then you assign it a data type, which restricts the type of data it can hold.